Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the DLF Trade Show, where it is time. It is here. It is when this comes out, it's football. Like it's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. This comes out tomorrow, assuming Addison over here does his job correctly. Which I mean, he hasn't not yet. So I'll say we can assume he does. You're going to be watching this, and it's almost football time.
Mm-hmm.
Almost
Hours,
football time.
just hours.
Hours. We are going to start with someone we're trying to wait for some trades to actually come in to be able to talk about, even though the Deshaun Watson suspension is old news at this point. We wanted to actually give all of you actionable enough information. Like, we didn't want to say, well, this one was before the suspension was announced and this had this to do with it. No, we're here. It's been enough time that we went into the trade. Well, Addison went into the trade finder, found some trades, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about Deshaun Watson. First, oh, by the way, just in case you live under a rock, 11-game suspension. He'll be back week 12, of course, against the Texans, because what a coincidence. So here we go. 12-team Superflex. Deshaun Watson and DK Metcalf for Tua, Drake London, and Jerry Jeudy. That's interesting. All right, so Deshaun Watson comes in at 526, DK Metcalf 443 for a total of 970. Tua 439.6, Drake London 256, Jerry Jeudy 223, total 920.1. So this is even enough. Usually we like to say you're supposed to pay more for what the highest asset is. Deshaun Watson is, in the analyzer, the highest asset. That doesn't really reach that. I am going to be pretty skewed on my answers on this because I kind of just don't want Deshaun Watson on my teams. And this other side is rough because I love Tua. I love Jerry Jeudy. I know this guy is a Drake London guy, and I understand the upside that is Drake London. So I'm actually higher on just about everyone on that side. I still love DK Metcalf, and I think he will be, I'm going to heavy quote this one, good this season. Like, he did pretty well with Geno last year when Russell Wilson was out. I don't think we're going to see the ceiling of DK Metcalf that we always want and hope. Like, maybe next year when they draft one of those early quarterbacks with, man, if they mess this up, that's a new level of whatever. But this Watson Metcalf side next season will probably be worth more than those three players, just because of the boost they will get if Watson comes back and even just looks good. He doesn't even need to be Deshaun Watson again yet, because if he looks good, we will all be telling ourselves, well, now he'll have a full offseason and he'll have practice and this, and that's all very, very true. But we don't know he can go back to being what he was, but that doesn't even really matter for value because it's going to spike anyway. And the second DK Metcalf gets an actual quarterback, whether they trade for someone, sign someone in free agency, or if they use an early draft pick, his value is going to go up again. So right now, I would honestly still take Tua, London, and Jeudy because I love all three. Well, I love 2 out of the 3, and Addison likes the other one enough for me to be like, okay, that's fine. But like long term, I do think the value on the Watson side is better.
I was going to take the Watson and Metcalf side on this. I do agree with you 100% that I've said that Tua, I think, has a good chance to be this year's Joe Burrow. I think Jerry Jeudy has a great chance to be a fantasy wide receiver 1 this year and be a dynasty wide receiver 1 next offseason. I love Drake London as well, but I think what you have here is potentially a top 5 dynasty quarterback in Deshaun Watson, which is going to be super valuable for fantasy and for dynasty just to have. And then DK Metcalf, while he's fallen in value a little bit, is still a back end dynasty wide receiver 1. So basically, what I'm hoping Tua and Jerry Jeudy become, that is what Deshaun Watson and Metcalf are right now. So it's just really easy just to take those two players. And, you know, I love Drake London and everything too, but I feel like it's at the same time, Tua, Jeudy, and London, while these guys are very valuable right now, and we're expecting them to gain value, there's also the other side where maybe Tua isn't that good in the NFL.
No.
I'm just
No.
Tua's gonna be fantastic.
Tua's gonna be fantastic.
Maybe it is Cortland Sutton. You know, I don't, and maybe Drake London gets hurt by Marcus Mariota and then Desmond Ridder whenever he replaces Mariota, because they're both kind of not good quarterbacks. Whereas I think the value is on the Deshaun Watson side and Metcalf side. The value insulation is also on that side, because I don't see a world where either one of those two guys lose value, where I could see all three of the other guys losing value. So I'm just going to take the safe play in Deshaun Watson, DK Metcalf, which I also do think is also, like you said, the ceiling play. So I'd all around, I'll take Watson.
The next trade we have, still 12-team Superflex. Deshaun Watson, a 2023 second, and Daniel Jones for Matt Stafford and Aaron Rodgers. Deshaun Watson, 526, a 23 second is 134. Daniel Jones, 114. Still good for you, Daniel Jones. Still over 100 points for a total of 774. The other side, Matt Stafford, 572. Rodgers, 526. Total of 1098. I mean, I'm siding with the analyzer on this. I'm going to take Stafford and Rodgers. Daniel Jones might not be the quarterback next year. Like, I've always, for some reason, had a soft spot for Daniel Jones. Maybe it's just because he's fun to watch. That doesn't necessarily mean he's good in any way, but like, it's that way. Like, picture like if Brett Favre wasn't actually talented. That was so mean, and I'm sorry, Daniel Jones, but like, it's that almost Ryan Fitzpatrick, like like he just does whatever, and it doesn't, and it's great. It's fun. A second's nice, but like, I mean, Stafford is solid. He's 34. Rodgers is still insanely good. It doesn't matter that he doesn't have Devontae Adams. Like, if you're older, like, you'll remember Aaron Rodgers turning guys like James Jones into good fantasy wide receivers. Like, that dude caught like 12 touchdowns for no reason whatsoever.
With a hoodie on. Yeah.
Like, it will cap his ceiling, I'm sure, but still, I don't think it matters. I think he's good enough that he will elevate the players, the wide receivers around him. Plus, let's go Romeo Dubs. So I think this is safe for the next 2-ish years at least, where a second is cool, but it's not the greatest thing in the world. Daniel Jones, if he's out of the league. So this almost turns into, are you willing to trade Deshaun Watson and 2 maybes for Matt Stafford and Aaron Rodgers? Like, I don't understand trading away Stafford and Rodgers for that other side. It is really just to say, either I think they're going to retire soon, so I want to lock myself into someone I think is a top 7-ish quarterback now, and like you said before, Addison, like the ability to be top 5 pretty easily. So like, that's the only move I see that.
Because essentially, if this is a super flex league, so you're trading away Stafford and Rodgers for that team is probably their QB 1 and 2.
Yep.
For, yes, you're getting 2 quarterbacks in Deshaun Watson and Daniel Jones, but are you really getting 2 quarterbacks? Because at least for this year, you're not getting Deshaun Watson for 12 weeks.
Okay, but no. Okay. It didn't really occur to me. Like, what if you're rebuilding? So you don't care about scoring this year. So you don't necessarily care that Watson is missing 11 games, because next year you'll have a 27-year-old quarterback who may be top 5. I still stick with the second, and Daniel Jones gives me the holdback here. Like, that's what would still make me go like, why take Daniel Jones then? I guess maybe like, if you think you can flip Daniel Jones in the second for something better, like if your league is active enough for that, and there's one person who for some reason wants Daniel Jones on their team, cool. But face value of this trade, it's I'm still stuck pretty easily on Stafford and Rodgers. Even if you need to rebuild, I think there's better ways to do it.
There definitely is, and I mean, this trade is not the trade to do if you're losing so much value if you're rebuilding by doing this trade and moving Stafford and Rodgers. It just doesn't make sense. That it might be better for you to just sell each one of them individually, and then see what you get for that, or there's something it's Jones in the second is the problem, and something needs to change there. For sure. Yeah,
for sure. Oh, this next one's interesting. Straight up, Deshaun Watson for Javonte Williams. Again, Watson, 526. Javonte Williams, 577. So Javonte is a little more valuable. ADP is so small. 23.5 for Javonte and 22.75 for Watson. Overall rank for Watson, 45. Overall rank for Williams, 29-ish. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we gotta work on pacing those things a little bigger. It's the quarterback. I can't. I like Javonte Williams. I really do. I believe the guy is talented. I think it's going to be a bigger split than more people want to believe it's going to be between him and Melvin Gordon.
The downside is Javonte tears his ACL, and we have like a Cam Akers situation or a J.K. Dobbins situation. He loses so much value for this year, and then we're not sure where to put him next year because of him coming back from injury and whatnot. Like, that's the downside, where he's probably a high-end RB2 next year, if that were to happen. The upside, though, and what I wanted to ask you, do you think it's possible that during the season when Deshaun Watson comes back, or right at the end of the year, like January, February, that you could still make this deal? Maybe you have to add a little bit to Javonte, but I think the thinking is that Melvin Gordon's going to be gone next year, like actually going to be gone, meaning Javonte is going to get the workload. And even though that we think that Deshaun Watson, all the hype that he's going to get next year with having an off season and playing, and has Amari Cooper and whatnot, that his value is going to rise, and David Bell for sure. But do you think that you could get a trade like this done, or a similar trade like this done at the end of the year, to where you still get Javonte's production now if you need it, and then go for the quarterback next year?
If you are willing to risk that Javonte may not be scoring as a top 5 running back, because I think that's what he'll have to be doing to even have the conversation, because picture what you think Deshaun Watson is worth now. That's with him missing 11 games. That's with him being... It's football season. Yes, it's only 11 weeks away. Like, I was trying to do math in my head. I'm like, I don't have to. Every week until we hit week 12 of the NFL season, Watson's value will either go up, or it will just be harder to get him, because chances are a lot of teams have been holding him this entire time, or they paid a certain price and they're just going to say, well, I paid this price. Why? I'm not going to let go of him now, just to, right before he plays. And then what, am I going to sell him for something and he ends up being the QB1? Well, that I hate that line of thinking. It is, but it's real. It's there, and I get it. So maybe a lot of things need to work your way for that trade. But let's go week 16, 17. Let's talk about after your fantasy championships. If Deshaun Watson does good, not great, not bad, just good. Javonte Williams does great. Maybe, like you said, if you're willing,
that's a small percentage outcome. Even where, like, if it was Javonte in a second for Deshaun Watson.
That was the wording I was trying to find. Like, if you're willing to throw in a second to get the deal done and you don't care that it's not straight up anymore, there's a chance it'll still be there. But if you want this deal, I think you have to do it now. Like, for safety's sake, because it needs to be very specific things to happen for this trade to happen in a couple of months.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm taking Deshaun Watson. I wanted to see if maybe it was possible that this trade could still be done later. But
the next player so now we're moving on to, what were the words you used? Preseason hype. But with me in the chat, you said preseason darlings, and I like that better. Mm-hmm. So the first darling we're going to talk about is Dameon Pierce. And this is a fun one. Dameon Pierce's value spike to me is weird, because nothing, like, we're double counting.
It happened twice. Yes.
Like, the reason he was drafted as early as he was in rookie drafts, which in my 12-team Superflex leagues was usually around like the 202, 203 area.
He was early second. Yeah.
Like, you drafted him there because there was no one else in Houston. And if you were drafting him at the 202, 203, you weren't worried about Marlon Mack anyway. Which, I'm so sad he got. That's not the point. I loved Marlon Mack. So the value spike is crazy to me. Like, I had this conversation, well, I say last night, but time doesn't mean anything because I record TA on Tuesday, put it out on Wednesday. We record this on Wednesday, but we put it out on Thursday. So I don't even know anymore. We talked about the idea of Dameon Pierce for a 23 first, and it's weird to me. I don't think it should happen, but we're about to talk about the fact that it did happen. 12-team, 1 quarterback, Dameon Pierce, not only for a 2023 first, but you got Darrell Williams for some reason. So Dameon Pierce is at 119.8. The 23 first is still at 384.2. And Darrell Williams, 11.6. Yes. Caution, Team B is giving up the highest. Oh, man, that's on all of them for the Dameon Pierce side, by the way. The highest value asset and the most pieces in the deal. I mean, it's a 23 first. Like, I constantly get, sarcastic eyes from a bunch of people saying, like, okay, I'm sorry. We talk about the league that we are in, the leagues of people filled with, content creators, people stuck on Twitter all day, people that listen to podcasts all day. There's a lot of home leagues. There's a lot of other leagues that aren't as, I want to say, like, in the know, but that seems not nice. Like, I'm not trying to talk down to anyone who doesn't just sit on Twitter all day, because we honestly overeducate ourselves and make stupid choices because of it. But man, like, I'm going to take a 23 first over Dameon Pierce forever. Like, Dameon Pierce could be good. That's great. But give me a 23 first.
I've had people try to make the argument for me for why they would take Pierce over 23 first, and I do not get it at all. I really don't.
He could be very good. That team is going to be very bad. They still have Rex Burkhead, who will always catch the ball. And that could take away from Dameon Pierce's upside if he's taken out on third downs, because they're going to have to be playing from behind a lot. So, like, I never want anyone to not do well. Like, I am the ever hopeful person. Like, I hope Dameon Pierce just crushes in the NFL. But there's a likelihood problem with that. And your likelihood of a 2023 first keeping or gaining value is exponentially greater than Dameon Pierce living up to what this hyped value is.
Yeah, let me hit you with that hypothetical, because I've been throwing that a couple of times. Of, I want Dameon Pierce over the 23 first now, because he's going to be the best rookie running back in this class for production this year, just this year. And I'm going to be able to get a 2023 first after the season. So why not get his points now and then still get the first later?
Because you won't.
That is not happening.
Again, the very big asterisk in our leagues, in Twitter leagues, and a lot of safe leagues, leagues where everyone knows what the 2023 class is, because especially when we're talking about Superflex, the big reason those are valued so much is there's going to be a ton of quarterbacks. So you're going to be getting very, very good wide receivers and running backs at the end of the first. Mm-hmm. It's just the way this class is. It's just going to be the way it is. And
this is also assuming that Dameon Pierce even survives the draft next year.
I was getting there, yes. We have seen many times, well, assuming the Texans draft intelligently, which I don't really know their front office well enough at this point, but like, yeah, we've seen many times where good enough running backs don't keep their jobs. Like, how many of the third running backs on the Ravens did great when Dobbins and Gus Edwards were hurt? Didn't matter. Remember the Tyson Williams craze? Dude's not on the team anymore. Like, and all of like good enough doesn't matter at running back. And if something happens and the Texans are like, no, we're drafting a quarterback and a running back and this offense is going to go, because they can. So
the Texans have 5 picks in the first 3 rounds next year. And if they use a running back with any of those 5 picks, it would be more draft capital than they gave Dameon Pierce.
And even if Dameon Pierce looks good, the perception of drafting an earlier round running back will hurt his value. And that's all we're talking about. That, again, absolutely nothing against Pierce the player. Value is what matters, because we're talking about trades. And so many things can stop Pierce's value. I had to look over to remember the name. Wow. Pierce's value from going higher or even staying at what it is. And most of it will have nothing to do with Dameon Pierce, which sucks for him and his trade value. But it's just sort of the reality. Let's go to the next one. Dameon Pierce for Aaron Jones and Dallas Goedert. 119. Well, we'll round up to 120 for Dameon Pierce. Aaron Jones at 428. Dallas Goedert at 161. look, if you're looking to get younger, you don't get younger at running back like this. You were given that is so many points, and even if you don't want that many points, you should make a surer bet, a better bet. That was really tough, man. I should have drank coffee before the show instead of waiting till after. There's better bets to make when sending away the points Aaron Jones and Dallas Goedert are going to score.
Right.
Like Aaron Jones is just going to crush this year, and yeah, he'll probably be worth half of his value right now if he's lucky next year because he'll be a 28-year-old running back. And I think the AJ Dillon people are just done, and they will just go insane this offseason because Aaron Jones is old and it's AJ Dillon time, and it's going to drive Jones's value even lower down with the volume at which the AJ Dillon people are screaming.
Yeah. The whole reason why I put these 3 trades up is because people have been telling me for the last 2 weeks that these deals aren't getting done. And they are.
They are.
If you have Dameon Pierce, you should be actively trying to sell him.
It's really, really funny. Having nothing to do with Dameon Pierce specifically. Every once in a while, there's a couple of people in my leagues, Trade Addicts leagues no less, where they'll send me a trade offer and then message me, be like, okay, so here what I was thinking. I don't mean to offend you with this offer or anything. And I'm like, well, first of all, you will literally never offend me with an offer because it's a game about a game. It's about a game. It's, this is silly. This is fun. And even though I do just appreciate understanding what people were thinking because it helps me understand how they trade and just other ways of thinking than my own, I will always finish that conversation with worth a shot. Always. It is always worth a shot to send an offer. If you're playing with the kind of people that yell or type in all capitals or put you on blast in the group chat, okay. I do it as a joke with specific people who I know it doesn't bother. But if they're being a jerk about it, kick that person out of your league. You don't need
or
that.
You leave the league. Yeah.
Fair enough. But it's not your fault.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly. Michael Scott was such a smart guy.
Wayne
Gretzky. So it is absolutely worth it to send these shots out. Dameon Pierce for Jerry Jeudy at a second. We drafted Dameon Pierce with an early second. 23 seconds are probably worth late firsts in 22. If you ask me, Dameon Pierce should be worth a 23 second.
Yep.
So if you're getting Jerry Jeudy on top,
you got a free Jerry Jeudy.
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think we're going to see any trades go down of Dameon Pierce for a second. I recently paid a 23 and 24 second because I was bored and I felt bad that, some guy was like, somebody take a running back, somebody trade. Why is no one sending me an offer? Okay. I mean, the real smart person would have been like, well, send some offers out. And I was just like, no, I don't feel like doing anything. So I sent him 2 seconds just because I wanted to get a trade done. But, Jerry Jeudy nicely climbing up to 331 and 23 second, 134. So the total of 466 against the 119.8. Again, easily Jeudy in the second. Either of those over Pierce. Yeah. That being said, I know we were completely and utterly just against Dameon Pierce on all of this. If you believe in him, go get him. Do whatever makes you happy. That's what the point of this game is. But if you want to do things based on value, based on range of outcomes, and feel intelligent about it as opposed to just feeling happy about it, which I guess technically you could do both, but not in this instance. Go get your guy if that's what you want to do. Like I said, I just sent 2 seconds for him for the heck of it because I felt like doing it. But it's not going to be the smart value move.
Right.
Or Dameon Pierce becomes the running back 1 next season. Either way.
That too. That'd be fun.
We got some rapid fire darlings coming. Isaiah Pacheco for a 23 second. Yeah, you smashed the second of that one. Especially all the things we said about Dameon Pierce, you have to cut that in half for Isaiah Pacheco because he's 3rd or 4th in line?
I think he's probably 2nd now, but I don't think he's that good.
He's okay. It's really funny how there's specific content creators where once they start talking about a player, other people start talking about a player, then other people like, and that's really where the echo chamber and the, double counting things start happening. Like months ago, JJ Zacharyson starts talking about Isaiah Pacheco. And I start talking about Isaiah Pacheco. And then we talk about him here. And then Addison makes a video about Isaiah Pacheco. And then everyone who watches all the thousands upon thousands of people that watch that video start talking about it. And we all start adding value to him based on what that first person said. And we're regurgitating the wrong word because that makes it sound bad for the people that do give their opinion on it as well. But like, you should just be plussing 1 because of the original person that said it, assuming people are nice enough to actually reference who that first person was. But we add like 6 because we've heard 6 people talk about it, and all of a sudden Isaiah Pacheco's worth a 23-second when you probably got him on waivers after your draft.
Yep. This whole rookie hype is so dumb in August.
It's fun. I mean, that's what it really is. But yeah, I always want everyone to succeed. So if he does come in and do well, cool. What are the chances he comes in and overtakes CEH? And I'm not even the biggest CEH fan, at least with how the Chiefs have been using him. Who knows what it's going to be this year, but he's still pretty talented. And Pacheco is like a 6th round pick?
7th, I think.
Was it? Yeah. So it's going to be a lot to overcome. So if you can get a 2nd out of someone you took in the 4th or the 5th, if you have them, or picked up on waivers after, it's right process to take that game.
If Isaiah Pacheco beats out CEH this year, the Chiefs are drafting a running back next year.
Yeah, like that's the outlier situation, and you still have to be worried about it.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. 23-second, Dallas Goedert and Romeo Doubs for Allen Robinson and Cole Kmet. I'm not sure if this is an Allen Robinson or a Romeo Doubs darling, because they're both darlings to me. Or are these just rookies that you're talking about?
But yeah, Dobbs is in there. That's the main reason why this trade's in here. But
Allen Robinson is my darling.
I do too.
Well, our darling, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so let's run through this for a second. 23-second is 134, Dallas Goedert 120, Romeo Doubs 56 for a total of 310. Allen Robinson 166, Cole Kmet 49. And Kmet's a bit of an off-season darling as well, for a total of 215. Oh, I mean, this isn't really that bad of a trade. Like, to me, Doubs doesn't really have much value in this trade. Any value in this trade?
No, he doesn't.
Oh my. Okay, so Robinson in a second. Like, I feel you cross those out, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Goddard is and should be worth more than Kmet.
Yes.
So you have like half a Goddard and Doubs for free.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this one was interesting.
Like Robinson, and I'm there for the Kmet hype a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he'll be like Kelsey Pitts, Kittle tier tight end, but I mean, the dude got 92 targets last year. This offense will most likely be better than last year because it would be so sad if it got worse. And there's no one else there to catch the ball besides Darnell Mooney. So there's a chance he breaks 110, 120 targets. But like Goddard does that already. A 23-second is insanely insulated value-wise. Allen Robinson, I want him to be a thing. I want him to work out. I want him to be fantastic in what will be his first good offense in his entire career. Dude's 30. I mean, no matter how well he does, his value isn't going to hold up.
Right.
So, like, no matter how much I do like the Robinson and Kmet side, it's the second Goddard and Doubs side pretty easily for me.
Yeah, I think if I wanted to have fun, I'd take the A-Rob side and Cole Kmet, because I'm not the biggest Dallas Goedert fan. A second, I'm more often than not am trading away seconds. I just don't really care all that much, you know. Firsts are different, but seconds are like,
yeah, I
could get some cool players with a second. And then I really like Dobbs. I think he could be legit. His hype has cooled down a little bit with Christian Watson starting to come back from injuries and stuff too, and Aaron Rodgers loves Sammy Watkins apparently. So, but I do think Dobbs could be legit. It's just going to take some time.
Everyone should love Sammy Watkins, by the way.
Especially this week. It's going to be fun.
All right, week 1, baby. All right, next trade is Brian Robinson for 23 second and Kadarius Toney. First of all, so freaking ridiculous what happened to Brian Robinson. Again, in case under a rock and you don't know, he got carjacked and shot in the leg twice. And then 2 days later, showed up to practice on crutches with a case of Oreos because it was his job to bring snacks in that week.
What a baller.
Such a baller move. Comes in on crutches holding one bag of Oreos and someone behind him holding like a box. And I'm just like, I like this guy now. Like, yes, you do that. So Brian Robinson was drafted mid-second-ish, early third, I think. Yep. So again, you give me a second, and I like the idea of Kadarius Toney. I know it's weird that they drafted Wan'Dale Robinson also, but he was just so much fun to watch when he was on the field last season. And when he would get good amounts of targets. So maybe he doesn't get 12 targets a game. Maybe he drops down to 8 or 9. I think he's the kind of player that has the good chance of taking one of those for 30, 40 yards to give you a decent PPR floor.
Yeah.
So give me the second and Toney there, because even if, let's pretend like Robinson comes back, even if it's like halfway through the season, no less next season, like it's going to be a little rough at that point. But like when he comes back, chances are it's going to be a 50-50 split ish with Gibson, like Rivera, like
for rushing. And then they got McKissick doing receiving.
Yeah, like Rivera equated this to Dameon Williams and Jonathan Stewart, which is just aiming a little too high.
D'Angelo Williams.
I said Dameon Williams, didn't I? The second you made that look, I'm like, I totally said the wrong name. I don't know what I said, though. I know what I meant to say. Damn. So D'Angelo, because first of all, man, the disrespect on D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart. Come on. Who I drafted Jonathan Stewart in one of my first ever drafts by myself his rookie year because he had the name of a Green Lantern. So to me, this is pretty easily, you take the value, like what you do with rookies when you draft outside, especially outside of the second round, when we're talking third, fourth, fifth round rookie picks, if you can get a second or a first for them, you just do it on principle, and you could figure something else out with that second, because chances are, is he really going to be worth more than a second in Kadarius Toney, even if he has a good season? Probably not.
Right. 9 out of 10 times that's going to work out for you. I would take the second itself over Robinson, and I would take Toney himself over Robinson as well.
Yeah.
So those two combined, that's just an easy one.
Yep. All right. So usually we do in Russ's inbox, but it's been a slow week with week 1 coming around. And we had someone ask us to ask us a question on one of the comments on one of the shows, and we wanted to just talk about it for a bit. I'm just going to read the post because I don't want to put it into my own words and screw it up. I wonder your opinion about a trade. 14-team, 1-quarterback league. About a month after the championship game of 2021, there was a trade accepted that was A.J. Brown before the trade to the Eagles and the 102 for Dalvin Cook. The 13th place team was trading Brown and the 102 to the championship team, his best friend. I couldn't just pass the trade. It was so bad, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I put it to a vote, first time in the league, and it was a unanimous veto. So what is your opinion? Was I wrong for putting it up to a vote? Before I read Addison's answer on here, if it is in your rules to allow this, no, you are absolutely not wrong. That is not a very good trade. Like, either of those pieces probably should have got you Dalvin Cook on their own. But, well, maybe not. But whatever. You get the point. Yeah, I really just wanted to get it out there. If it is within your rules to allow veto polls or votes, that's the better word.
Right.
You are absolutely not wrong. That is a very bad trade. Well, Addison, you're Addison. Read what you wrote. I mean, there's no need for me to do it.
So basically what I said was that, and I know that you agree with me on this, is that we are anti-veto for trades, or at least in the sense of like every trade that get accepted has a 24, 48 or 48 hour time period where everybody votes on the trade to see if it's fair or not. And that's, some people just veto just because they want to.
I would vote against every single trade I did not make.
See, there you go. So that happens. And then other people think that because the trade is bad, they should just veto it in general because one team is clearly winning over the other. But we don't know that at the time. And I've seen plenty of trades that look like they're winning now that end up being the complete opposite in
Mm-hmm.
a month,
Mm-hmm.
let alone even over the course of an entire actual NFL season or an off season or a year. So that happens all the time. So we're both very anti-veto. And where I think you also agree with me is that the rule should be that if a trade is bad enough, it should be brought to the attention of the commissioner, and the commissioner should kind of look into it and determine if it was just a bad trade that both sides agree on it, they want the trade to happen, and there's some sort of a justification for it, or if there actually is some sort of collusion, because that's the only time where a trade should be overturned generally, unless there was an accident or something like that. Those are other rules. Only time that a trade should really be overturned is if there was collusion, and then you should probably just kick those people out of the league, because that should not be a part of fantasy football, and that's stupid. So and then so to go with that, I think people think that collusion happens a lot more than it actually does. So, and every time that they see a bad trade, they just assume collusion, when that's not the case for sure. Given this example, I could see the evidence for collusion. You said that they're best friends. You said that one of the team is next to last. The other team is, playing for the championship. So they make this swap basically. And when I looked it up, AJ Brown had a huge week 16. So it would make sense that the team that was trading for AJ Brown wanted him because he was just going to have like a monster week potentially in week 17. Whereas Dalvin Cook was hurt in week 16, also probably not going to play in week 17. So that was the rationale, I think, behind that entire trade on both sides. It was kind of funny though, because if this was collusion, AJ Brown's like one of his worst games of the year was in the championship game. So that's kind of funny how karma hits you like that. So basically I would, as a commissioner, I would want to see if this actually is collusion. I don't really know how you go about doing that. Maybe you have better ideas as an actual commissioner of how to go about doing that. But that's the only time for me that I would be comfortable with overturning a trade if there actually was collusion, rather than just saying this is a bad trade, I'm not allowing it to happen. And because I think that's a slippery slope and sets like a bad precedent for your league.
Yeah. I will. Okay, I know this is absolutely semantics, but I have to say it because I 1000% hashtag never veto. Sold a T-shirt that says that and everything. And everyone always says, "Well, it can, unless it's collusion." I'm like, no. If it's collusion, you're undoing the trade and kicking those people out of your league. That's not vetoing a trade. That's undoing cheating and fixing your league. That is very, very different. Again, it's
Right.
pretty much semantics, but no, it is not vetoing. There was never vetoing. Okay, I've never had to deal with this in my 15-ish years of running leagues. Like, again, at this point I run about 15 dynasty leagues. I've always run at least one every single year, but we're up to 10 trade addicts leagues that have been going on, well, some of them for about 4 years. Again, I've had many leagues with many people, most of which I don't know because I just grab people from Twitter. I've never really dealt with, honestly, even anything this bad. Like, I've never seen a trade like this go through in one of my leagues. So how exactly you should handle it, I don't have the right answer. I don't think there is a right answer, but you just have to have a conversation with the two people separately. If their explanations are word for word the same, that's usually lying. They put their story together for when they knew we were
Right.
going to ask.
Right.
But you really just, it's a feel thing. And honestly, it sucks when you're friends with these people because you have to make a really weird decision after that. Because are you going to kick out your best, one of your best friends because you felt like they may have cheated? And honestly, let's throw it what it is. AJ Brown in the 102. AJ Brown might not be good on the Eagles in the 102. He might have taken Kenneth Walker, who's at least missing a decent amount of the season. This might not have worked out for anyone. Dalvin Cook is going to be great, but also like Addison said before, there are people that are not as plugged in as the rest of us. And even if that person finished in 13th place, they might think they're just a running back away. And if you're a running back away, Dalvin Cook is absolutely that running back for this year. That could have been what they were thinking. And if they're not as in on value as the rest of us, AJ Brown might not be that high of an asset because he's never really finished a full season as a top 5 wide receiver. And he might not know how to value the 102, in which case, okay, I'm giving a first round pick and a decent wide receiver for Dalvin Cook, and that's awesome.
Yep.
When you put those words out there, that does sound like a good trade. And I don't know these people, so I don't know if that's how they think or what they were thinking or any of that, but there's always so much that goes into it. And like Addison said before, a few times in different ways, we don't know how this is going to work out. So what looks bad now could be bad for a very different reason. Like if AJ Brown just has a wide receiver 25 season and whatever they did with the 102 ends up not hitting, and man, even Dalvin Cook, what if he misses the entire season? Like nothing happened with this trade that you're so worked up about. Now, is that likely to happen? No, that all three of those pieces flame out, but you don't know. And while bad trades happen, one trade won't ruin a league. That's the honest truth. One trade, no matter how bad you think it is, won't ruin a league. So
yeah,
I go back to my beginning statement. If it's in the rules, you did your job. If it's in the rules, you're allowed to do that. You did it. More power to you. If it's not in the rules, I wouldn't be a fan of it. But
I've seen I think Scott Fish does this, is that his rule for collusion, or at least like overturning trades. I mean, Scott has
to deal with over 1,000 leagues, so yes, he needs something black and white.
A system. His system, I believe he uses the DLF trade analyzer. He puts the trade in, and if one side is 2.5 times, he'll overturn it.
That sounds right. I didn't remember what it was, but he said that out loud, and that sounds familiar.
Yeah. So maybe that's something that if you guys are looking to join leagues or start a league or try to fix something up in your league after the end of this year, and maybe the veto system, you want to get rid of the veto system, but you still want a very black and white system in place, then collectively as a group decide which trade analyzer you want to use. It could be ours, it could be the Dynasty trade calculator, it could be Dynasty Dominator, whatever, and just say when it passes this multiplier amount, then that trade is automatically overturned.
All three of the Dameon Pierce trades would have been overturned in that, by the way.
Well, there you go. I feel like you can make a little bit of an that is the one downfall I will say with the DLF trade analyzer, is that it doesn't catch up as quickly to immediate hype.
Yeah.
So, like Dameon Pierce's value is going to rise. It might double,
Yeah, because we're also still just about done with the ADP, contract. Yeah. So that will absolutely that will absolutely spike his value. But yeah, it's a tough situation to deal with. I am very, very grateful, very, very lucky. I understand that I've never had to deal with it, but I don't think there's a black and white answer unless you do just go with something along the lines of using the analyzer or whatever calculator you feel like using to sort of guide along. But you need a really, really big gap to call it collusion or to overturn a trade. Like you can't just do like 50%. Like it needs to be like that 250%, like the Scott Fish uses. But again, he uses that because he has thousands of leagues. So
yes,
feel out what your league does and make it on your own.
People that want to collude.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, this has been a long one, but usually whenever we do these addendums, they end up running a little long anyway because we always have a lot of stuff to say. And I've been rambling like a whatever for the entire episode. So my bad, everyone. Not one of these 25-minute episodes. Okay, well, no, 35-minute episodes that we do sometimes. But we are going to end it now so I can stop talking. Thank you for tuning in for Football Time edition of the Dynasty Trade Show from the DLF YouTube channel. Russ Fisher at Dynasty Ad House, senior contributor Addison Hayes at AmazeHayes_. Thought you had it, but it's gone. Catch you next time.